All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Let's get into these charts. You guys let me let me know how the audio is sounding, and we'll just get started. So I'll go for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll see how we get through these picks, and just see if there's anything interesting. So once I get that audio check, I'll kind of dive in to where we where we left off on Friday, and we'll go ahead and look for any individual stock ideas you guys want me to look at, any charts. Leave the ticker symbol in the comments. So we'll start off with triple Qs. And triple Qs, really there was no real action last week except for, you had the gap up on the CPI report, and then the market pretty much just chopped around and did nothing for, the rest of the week. So you'll see here, there's the gap up on the CPI, and basically we just kind of chopped around. If I look at the hourly chart, you can see we were just kind of chopping around. So there wasn't anything to really trade off of for the rest of the week. If we got a breakdown or some sort of a break at like this level right up here, you probably would have seen a sell-off down to a gap fill, but we didn't get any of that. So ultimately there was just nothing to really just nothing to trade off of. So that's about it on the triple Qs. The big thing is, that I'm watching at least for, if I look at the daily chart. So again, this is all of 2023. There's your rally, all right? And then we broke that rally. Now we did make, obviously you took out that former high right there. So that, this was a downtrend, but that's not necessarily intact anymore. At least that downtrend's not, because you took it out, and we pretty much made a new high in this pattern here. So if I roll out, and you'll see, got to kind of clean up my chart as I go, but there's the former high, and then we pretty much made a new high right there. It is a divergent high as of right now, but it's not fully confirmed, so a little more work to do to indicate whether we have divergence. So here's kind of what I'm thinking and how I'm looking to play this or plan it out. One, obviously right here and now is not a great time to go long. All right, if you're long already, I think you could trail stops. I think that would make sense. But if you're not long, it doesn't make sense to go long. If you guys go back, if you're in the private member group, you'll know that I basically down here, I could show the comment, but I've shown it already in some videos. This is where I said, okay, guys, I think I'm looking to go long here and play the bounce. Pretty much played that. Started to get short again right here, right in there, basically, because we're at this downtrend line resistance. Again, it's all technically based. All right, so that's where we started to get short. Then it gapped, it basically broke that, and especially when it did the back test and held, that was the sign to me that, okay, it doesn't make sense to be short anymore. We'll just take the loss on that. Because again, we were at resistance, so I was shorting it at, or near resistance. We broke that resistance and held it. There's no technical case there to be short, at least at that current level. So got out of that short, and then obviously it, rallied up. And this is where it's at now. So it doesn't make sense to be shorting here. I just don't see a short right up here. And if you're long, I think you could trail stops. But I don't think it makes sense to put new long money to work up here. So we'll see, though, because here's the thing. We do have divergence. It's not confirmed. So there's your negative divergence. You can see on the RSI. If this starts to turn down, then we'll start to confirm that divergence. And the PPO, you got it like that. You need to see that start to turn down to confirm the PPO divergence. And if you get that, then we have something to trade off of because we'll have a divergent high, and so we'll look for a reversion trend. Right now, the trend, we'll just go with this short-term time frame like that, and I'd have to look at the hourly chart to really fine-tune the actual level, but that would kind of be your trend. And then if you get the divergence, you look for a break of trend, and if that breaks, then you're probably going to come down minimum, fill the gap, and the buyers will be there. The gap makes sense for where the buyers and longs want to be at. But then you could obviously come down, back down to this trend line and break down. And there's all that stuff that could happen. We'll have to just evaluate that, when that happens. Now, if it just wants to keep going higher and you just don't really have any divergence, you burn through it, then ultimately you got the all-time highs, which are here, right up in here. Let me kind of clean this up just to find them. Right about there, about 403 is the all-time high, it looks like. So then, you could go take out the all-time highs. Maybe we'll have to see what happens if or when that happens. I don't think we're going to take out the all-time highs. I think we're probably going to see some sort of a pullback. But yeah, things to watch. So that is what I'm seeing on triple Qs. There's really the SPY, you look at the SPY. So there you go. You took out that downtrend line on the SPY with the gap up on the CPI. You do, again, it's the same thing. You've got divergence, it's just not confirmed. So I want to see it confirmed first before I start looking for a short. Until then, I'm just not really, I'm just kind of neutral. I mean, for sure, the price action has been bullish. You broke that downtrend line. That's bullish. So yeah, but again, I don't want to buy. If you buy when you see like a big breakout like that, and you're buying, you're kind of chasing a little bit. We're way overbought. I mean, you look at the RSI on the daily, we're pretty overbought. So buying on stuff like that, you're just chasing, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to chase. I want to buy when we're running into support with bullish divergences, or at least not as overbought, let's put it that way. So maybe on a pullback, if you're bullish, you'd want to buy on maybe a pullback of this trend line, a back test of the breakout point. That would be an objective long area for sure. What else is interesting? Trying to think. The wheat thing is it's not working. We'll just put it that way. It's not working, but it's just, it's okay to, whenever I give out a trade idea or a position, don't expect it to just be profitable from the moment that it comes out. Sometimes it is, but a lot of the time you have to kind of build a support, things like that. So there's wheat. This is the ETN, and it's really just gone nowhere for the last couple months. If you look at the futures, here's the futures. Again, the last few months, it's just gone nowhere. So it still looks bullish. We're building bullish divergence. It just, that continues to build. We're just not really moving up. So if you want to wait, if you're not in a position, I think it would probably make sense just to wait. But ultimately, I think we need to see some sort of a breakout above this kind of range we've been in for the last few months. And that would be your buy signal. So that's all I see on that one. IWM, I can look at that one. Very chocked full of regional banks. IWM, so far, it ran into the 200 simple right there and got rejected. Not really moving too impulsively down. Again, this isn't going to move. This is going to move with the major stock market, and the major stock market is going to move with the tech stocks. Most of the gains this year have been due to the Magnificent Seven, and so you know, I mean, if I just go and look at my sector analysis, let me just wrap this one up. So yeah, that one's at the 200 simple. There's resistance right there, about 170. Not, it's about 180, and yeah, I mean, at resistance, breakout above that would be bullish. Otherwise, you're probably going to get a pullback down to support around 170, 75. And then big support down here. This is the big support. It could even be range bound, guys. This one might be, you know, but that's the range that I'm seeing right now. Support down here. All right, big solid support. It's down around 162, down to 160. And then resistance would be the 200. So that's all I see on that one. And then what was I going to talk about? I was looking at the, let's look at the semiconductors. Yeah, so they're just, you know, so far just, you know, that's the uptrend right there. And, you know, you've got negative divergence, but again, not confirmed. So it's the exact same as the triple Qs. One thing, if I look at the sectors, this is just, you know, I don't have them all, but if I roll out, there's XLP, consumer staples. I mean, you look at, let's see, where are we at from the beginning of the year? Basically down on the year. This is the utilities down on the year. Retail down on the year, or maybe flat, I don't know. Yeah, flat to downish. Actually, that one, this is the, excuse me, guys, had to sneeze. This is the XLY, consumer discretionary. That one's kind of up on the year. Healthcare's really gone nowhere. I mean, it's just range bound on this big sideways range for a couple of years now. So flat, basically. Technology up, obviously. Industrials, yeah, they look okay-ish. You know, they're kind of flat to up. You know, January's right here, so they're up on the year. And then financials, those are pretty much flat to down. So that's where we're at. Most of the gains have been due to the technology sector. All right, I don't have much else to really go through. The ones I'm watching for next week, in case you're, you know, LLY looks like a good trade setup. Not actionable yet, but you can see they just continue to hold this trend line. All right, support, support, support. Lots of reactions there. Nice clean negative divergence. That one looks good. So I'll look for that one to trigger, and then we'll look for gap entry and gap fill as our targets. We don't have a trigger yet. We need to break that trend line support, and not just a little tick below. It should be a decent impulsive breakdown, maybe a gap down, something like that. So that one looks interesting. Nvidia kind of looks interesting if I go over to that one. If I can find it. Here's Nvidia. This one, you do have negative divergence, starting to confirm there on the RSI, not so much on the PPO. We need to see this big trend line get taken out right here. Support, support, support. You take that out, and that's going to be a sell signal. So that's what I'm watching for on that one. Until we get that, you know, no sell signal. And then what Google was looking kind of interesting. Google's kind of at resistance here, but there's support right in here at 133.77, and that's it. We're just kind of pinching right there. So maybe it breaks out, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Negative divergence on the RSI. See the RSI? It's continuing to diverge lower. The PPO hasn't confirmed yet, but it probably will. So actually, I take that back. It's not actually divergence because we haven't made a new high yet in price. So maybe it wants to pop and put in a new high and then diverge. We'll see. All right. Let me look at your guys' stuff. URI. So that's resistance right here. Right in that area, about 494, or sorry, 492, 493, right around in there. Um, not not divergence yet, because divergence means you have to make lower highs in the momentum with higher high in price. We don't have that higher high in price. So maybe they want to pop it and put in a divergent high. It's near resistance now, so but you're so close. I could see them kind of popping up and putting in that divergent high. So keep an eye out on that one. PANW. I haven't looked at this one for a while. Probably go with this trend line. Let me just kind of clean this up. So I would go with this from the lows. You've got support, 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 and that's what I see. At support, or actually above. Thursday it was at support, slightly above now. It does have negative divergence. It'll probably break pretty soon. You can see the divergence there, but it's at support now. So you got no sell signal. You break support, you should run down, hit the 200, and ultimately start to trend lower. But until then, we need to see that break. UI. What is UI? Ubiquity. Downward trend line. Bullish divergence on this one. So you can see on the daily starting to show bullish divergence here. It's actually an extended divergence as well. So this one I would be more interested in looking for a long. You do have the bullish divergence, but just like wheat, it can build these divergences for a while. Ultimately, you need a buy signal. So on this one, you've got the divergence now, but you don't really have a buy signal. So two ways to treat it. You can buy at support with the understanding that you can continue to kind of grind along and test support while making kind of lower lows and diverging, continuing to diverge. Or you can wait for a break of resistance. This is the best resistance I can make on it here. Because I can't, you could potentially look at that reaction here all the way up. Looks like I've got a couple reactions up there too. So, I mean, the trend line up there is actually better than this one, because this I only have 2, whereas this I have 3. So, yeah, to me this looks like it could actually make a run up to that trend line in the 200-day simple moving average, which would be a nice move. That would be a 50% rise. What I would have to say on this one, it's pretty choppy for sure. I mean, it's really gappy. I mean, here's earnings. This thing gapped down, and basically 15% on earnings. Could be sold out. Maybe that was a washout move. I just can't really make a super clean trend line. I mean, to justify that it is going to make a move all the way up there. I could see the potential if it wants to rally up there to that. That would be the resistance level. So support looks to be down here. Resistance looks to be way up there. And it has bullish divergence. So if I had to pick a direction, I would want to be bullish on this one. All right. So Palantir, PLTR. I've got this trend line right here I marked out a while ago. resistance line. Probably drop it down to about there, and I'd say we're at resistance. Yeah. That's what I'd say. We're at resistance right here. That looks like resistance. If it's not there, it's really close. So resistance zone. If I go to the hourly, yeah, starting to diverge. A lot of the time on earnings moves, big earnings moves, you'll kind of instantly have that divergence on the hourly. What I would do, it looks like it's at daily resistance. I would probably look at like this trend line right here. That I think they'll try to probably hold that maybe for another bounce, but it could come down, bounce, start to break resistance, but then ultimately look for the failure. So I wouldn't want to be shorting this until I saw probably a break of this trend line here, which isn't even a trend line yet because there's only 2 data points. If you get a third, that would help. All right, so what I would say, if it comes down and bounces off that again, that would give you 1, 2, 3. You got the negative divergence on the hourly, and then ultimately, I'd probably look for a break of that because you're at good, decent daily resistance, but they might want to pop it and run some stops before reversing. Ultimately, you see a break, then you can look for the gap fill. All right, that's how I would trade that. Okay, so I covered that one. REM. This is what, real estate ETF? Okay, so it's probably paying dividends. Yeah, 10%. So it's a REIT. Obviously, interest rates dropping is probably the most important thing to take note of for this to do well. There's your resistance line. So we're in a downtrend. That has not changed. Downtrends don't just go straight down. I mean, this is a longer term trend that's been in play for many years. And within that trend, you have rallies. Okay? Rally, rally, rally. So those are bear market rallies. That's even though it would feel super bullish, you're still over the long term in a downtrend. And, long term bear markets have rallies within the longer term downtrend. So resistance is up there. So, yeah, you're probably going to get up there. I would think. And then you're at big resistance. So until that's taken out, that's where I'd want to exit along. All right, that's all I have on that one. And then obviously watch your interest rates. TNX, it broke. This is one of the reasons why the market's been so bullish recently. This is your long-term, going back to COVID lows, upward trend line in interest rates. So they've been rising, and then you broke. I mean, that is a breakdown for sure, especially that one, that red candle right there. I think that was the CPI. Interest rates are falling, and so technically that's a catalyst for stocks to be rallying. So it's hard to get extremely bearish right now, and again, that's why I said I can't make a case to be short right now on certain things. And if I look at the weekly chart on TNX, I mean, we've got big support. This is your long-term 1981, basically right here, all the way last 40 years. So I think, you could pull back down to here. All right, and that would be big support where interest rates are likely going to hold and then continue to rise. But that could take, I don't know. This could take a while. This is a weekly chart, so it could take a year or so. Who knows? SQ. I covered weed already. Disney, or what's O? I think. Oh, this is another. So I already covered the REITs. I already covered that one. The REIT index. Disney looks like it was at resistance, but I think it's still gonna. Yeah, it's kind of there at resistance. I think there's probably a little more upside in Disney, but it's at resistance now. So these little lines that I have here are the major target. The major target of this bullish falling wedge is right here, right up there at about that $100 range. So that's where I would think it's going to go, but you're probably going to get a pullback. You're at resistance right now. So you can see you've got reaction, reaction, reaction. Those are reaction. And so I think you're probably going to get a reaction here down to the 200. I think like this, down, buyer step in, and then another move higher up to the measured target. That's how I see that one playing out. Yeah. So that one, it still looks okay though. DG, Dollar General, haven't looked at this one. So RSI has some divergence, but PPO does not. Resistance right about there. Yep. And so you can see resistance, resistance. They hit it, popped it. Look at that. That's what you call a stop raid. All right. They act like they're going to break resistance, and they're at one point in time they were way up here, and boom, seller stepped in, and that's a stop raid. So I think you're probably going to go lower. You know, I think you probably go down and fill this gap right here. That's what I would look for. Okay. Any thoughts on U or DUOL? I don't even know what those are. U is Unity, so that's developer software. I think gaming software is what these guys do. Yeah. This trend line, this was a downtrend. It's kind of, chopping sideways. Looks like I've got another one to watch, maybe right about in here. And I would say that's one reaction, two reactions, three reactions. So there's a downtrend. And no real divergences. I would just say we're at downtrend line resistance. All right, a break of trend would be bullish. Otherwise, looks like we'll continue lower. But right now it's at resistance, so. So that's that one. LFG. Okay. I'm not going to cover that one. It's kind of a penny stock. It's not liquid. I prefer to not really cover a lot of these. For one thing, when there's no liquidity, like YouTube can run these things up. So not really anything I'd be interested in. And then Nvidia broke out of its downtrend line. I did cover that one already. Let me just see if I see anything. Well, Nvidia hasn't been in a downtrend. I mean, Nvidia's been in an uptrend. Bigger picture, there's an uptrend, kind of some sideways action here, but I don't see a downtrend on Nvidia. So it didn't break out from a downtrend. It hasn't really been in a downtrend. All right, rum bottom or dead cat mounts? Well, here, let's look. The best we can do to figure it out, for one, bullish divergence. All right, I like that. I just see that instantly on the momentum. Again, kind of a penny stock, but you got bullish divergence. So these are divergent lows, divergent low, divergent low. You need to break this resistance level, probably right about there, which is like 450. And then you do that, you're probably going to run. It looks like there's some resistance here, and then the 200. So that would be that one. I wouldn't want to. For me, I wouldn't want to buy it until it broke that. The buy signal would be on a break of that resistance, that 450 area. NAK, small cap exploratory gold, big moves recently. Is it a junk stock? Yeah, I'm not going to chart that one. These things are just, I mean, these are kind of like a small cap exploratory gold stock is very similar to like a biomed. They'll have huge moves based on some news event, you know. So they're speculative at best. Very hard to chart. You can get lucky or you can go broke on those. That's kind of how those work. CVX, Palantir. I covered Palantir. CVX is which one is that one? Chevron, yeah. Let me just kind of see what's going on with these. I know oil was down on Friday, I believe. You got some bullish divergence showing up here on the RSI. It's not quite there in the PPO. The RSI usually moves faster than the PPO, but you don't really have it there. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not, I've got this trend line here. Let's extend this out and see if that makes sense. Yeah, I've got that one. So I think there's some support around this area. We had a gap. We had some reactions on this trend line, the gap up and stuff. So it looks like there's some support around this area. So you definitely could bounce. But yeah, so maybe a bounce in the short term. And resistance looks to be, I mean, kind of up right there at this point. Cat. So you had negative divergence there. That was the negative divergence, and that was your pullback. I don't see any bullish divergence on this. I see bullish momentum in the short term, and I see bullish price action in the short term. So to me, this looks like just a bear rally. Looks like it's a rally in a downtrend with another move, down. If anything, this looks like it could come down, take out the lows, and then put in divergence. But I see a downtrend and I see a rally within a downtrend. And maybe a trend line there. That could be something. We do have a gap. You gap down, you back tested, you recovered it. So this rally might have some more to go. I'm not saying that this rally's done. I just, bigger picture, the trend still looks down. So whether it wants to rally up, and there's probably some downtrend line resistance to maybe something. Yeah, right about there. Right there. So could do that. Could continue up to rally to 274-ish, depending on when it gets there. 273-ish, somewhere right in there. That looks probable. I don't see any indication. I'm seeing momentum moving up, price moving up. So yeah, I think it could probably do that. But at that point, I would, I think at that point it probably can continue lower. ARC. So similar to like the triple Qs and the SPY, this one had this breakout of the downtrend. Bullish divergence on the RSI, but nothing on the PPO. But this looks to me very similar to triple Qs, and it could have some more upside for sure. No, I wouldn't want to short this. Let's put that. There's no reason to short. You just had a breakout of a downtrend, so you don't want to short on a breakout of a downtrend. If anything, you want to go long. It's pretty overbought, but that doesn't mean it can't continue to be overbought. Yeah, that's what I see on that one. It might be interesting to break down the individual stocks and see if there's anything interesting within there. Okay, so that was ARC. Net. And Net's probably in this ARC, I would think. So let me just see what, extend that out. I don't know about this one. It just looks like dead money. It looks like it's in this big sideways range here. All right, you got support way down here. You got resistance right up here, and it's just in this big sideways range. We're at or near resistance. So until you see a breakout, it's at big resistance. And I don't see any divergences telling me that a breakout's likely to occur. I see momentum kind of moving higher, and I see price moving higher. So no divergence. Looks like it's at or near resistance. There's no breakout. So if I was long, I'd want to look to start exiting my longs soon. If not, I mean, I never want to wait till the exact level. Yeah, you might get it. You might not. I mean, you're about 4% up to that, roughly that level. if my level's even accurate, so I'd want to look to start exiting longs. I always want to enter and exit just a little early, And that's all I have on that one. You see a breakout, that changes things. But as of right now, at big resistance or near it. CAG. Conagra Brands of food, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to make a trend line. I can't quite. I mean, that doesn't look good to me. I wouldn't want to trust that one. Ugh. That one's, see, I'm trying to get 3 reaction points. I got one. There's one right there, but I can't make a clean one on the 3rd. So maybe that you did kind of get the pullback here. This is a breakout, but it just doesn't look that impulsive to me, so that tells me either my trend line's wrong or, this breakout's not to be trusted. I don't see divergence. I don't see divergence either. I mean, I see bullish momentum, bullish price action. I don't see any kind of divergence or anything. So it's probably sell the rip. I mean, you look at areas of resistance, there's a reaction. Oh, actually, I got to kind of tighten that up somewhere right about in there. 29-ish looks like some resistance. Yeah, I don't know. This is a dividend payer, I'm sure. Yeah, so it's not going to be a big mover, but doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't look super constructive. Doesn't mean it can't keep going up, though. I mean, again, you can have counter trend rallies. If this is in a downtrend, which I can't even make a strong case on this downtrend line, to be honest. So, like, for me, if I can't make a clear chart and a clear case, I just pass and say, I don't know. And that's kind of how I feel about this one. EL, Estee Lauder, so that's retail, right? This one has a pretty well-defined downtrend line. So I would say about there. It's like right in there, basically. It's pretty well-defined. You got reactions, there's another one, a bunch through here. So we're at or near resistance, and there's no real bullish divergence. I see, yeah, I don't see bullish divergence at or near resistance, so that's it. Likely going to continue lower. I don't see any change there. All right, I covered CVX and Disney already. SNPS. Package software. Okay. There's COVID. I would say that's our bull trend for right now. Yeah, I would go with that one. That's our longer term bull trend. It's a divergent high. Just, you've got, but you had divergence. I mean, it's an extended, it's not fully confirmed. The PPO is kind of pointed upward. It's very similar to like the triple Qs, which makes sense. So, I don't see a sell signal on it. You can go down to the hourly, and just the triple Qs has negative divergence on the hourly. This one does not really. So you make a trend line like that. You really want to go about there, and it looks like it closed pretty much on that trend line. So a breakdown would be a sell signal. I don't see divergence really telling me that you're going to get the breakdown, but if you do, you probably get a little pullback. But this thing looks bullish, if anything. It just does not have a real clean bear look. Now, on the daily, if we start to turn down on the PPO, and now all of a sudden we have negative divergence on the daily, and yeah, that gives you a cleaner look, and then you're probably going to get a pullback all the way down to the major trend line support. But we just don't have enough to go off of right now to say that. So that's what I see on that one. Our banking, regional banks, KRE. So that's your divergent low right there, and it's been rallying. A slight bullish divergence recently right here on the PPO and the RSI, just slight. And so that was a divergent low, and there's a rally. We're at the 200-day, just above it. But again, it's normal to see stocks kind of chop through the 200 a little bit. This doesn't look impulsive, like an impulsive breakout from the 200. So I would still say that's probably resistance. Can't really make a super clean trend line there. So I don't know. It's at resistance now with the 200. You're probably going to get a pullback. This one's going to follow the triple Qs. But interest rates are falling, which should benefit the banks because they can make more loans. The banks have been retooled basically. I know a lot of people talk about rising interest rates are good for the banks because they can charge more money. But the thing is that nobody takes out any loans when the interest rates are high. So yeah, they can make more money on the few little loans that trickle through. Lower interest rates allow the banks to basically make a lot more loans, and they make it up on volume. So just a few more, and I'm going to wrap up, guys. Dick's Sporting Goods. This is a bearish rising wedge that was in play, except my trend line moved. It's like this charting software has a hard time keeping all the various trend lines. Widest part of the wedge is there, and the breakdown point was about right there. So the measured target would be this trend line here, and that's close enough. We didn't hit it, but it's close enough. You get, like I said, that's why when you get close to trend lines, you want to step in a little early. You're about 2.5%. So to me, that looks like the measured target of that bearish rising wedge was actually met. And so yeah, that's that. And then you've got bullish divergence here that's showing up on the daily. So look, you know, a big gap down on earnings, divergent low, basically hitting that major target. This looks bullish to me when I have to look at this. Now, there is a gap entry. That's about gap entry. Slightly above it, but we're just gonna move it up when you're, because we have a couple reactions on this resistance. There's one, there's two, and I'm gonna say we're basically closing right at resistance. Okay, and that's it. Earnings is the catalyst here, so it's a gamble. Earnings is next Tuesday. It's a bullish looking chart, so maybe it wants to pull back Monday, and I don't know if earnings are before or after the bell, but maybe it wants to pull back Monday, and it's still, I don't know, I'd want to be a buyer here. I just don't know if I'd want to be a buyer before earnings. You know, it depends on what happens. If it wanted to pull, if it put in a new divergent low before earnings, likely not going to happen, because that'd be a pretty sizable move, but it's possible. Then I'd maybe want to be a buyer before earnings, not heavy, but after earnings we'll see, you know, because another thing they could do is earnings could come out, could be bad. They might put in a new divergent low. I'd want to be a buyer probably after earnings on a divergent low into that support level. With the divergence, it looks bullish to me, so I think I'd want to be a buyer. I just don't know if I'd want to do it. You know, I'd want to be a buyer maybe down here after earnings, or if you can get a breakout after earnings. Depends on where it gaps up to. If earnings comes down, it gaps way up here. I don't want to be a buyer on a gap fill way up here. I want to be a buyer down here at support, or if it can just barely start to break out and it's nice and it's an impulsive breakout, I'd want to be a buyer on that breakout for probably a gap fill. So that one's interesting to me. One more, guys, and I'm going to wrap up. Let's see here. Let's look at DraftKings, I guess, since I've talked about that one in the past. You've got, well, this is similar to triple Q. So we're making a new high in price, obviously. All right, it's a new high, and it is, you know, it's still a divergent high, but it's not confirmed. If we keep going higher, we'll burn through the RSI. So very similar to the triple Qs. We need to kind of wait and see. There's no, I don't want to short this divergent high, because you don't just short a divergent high, you short a sell signal, all right? And divergence, you look for divergence for the condition, so that gives you the conditions and the setup. And then when you get the sell signal, that's your trigger to take action. And we don't have kind of any of that. We have divergence, but it's not confirmed. We don't have a sell signal. So yeah, this one could go higher. There's some resistance up here about 44.50. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Drop me a thumbs up on your way out. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next week. Probably a pretty light week next week because you've got the holidays coming up. So we'll catch you guys next time.